The reason is that it had gotten very poorly funded, was really impacting local resources, crowding out investments in law enforcement and other things. And so we as an organization put in place a strategic plan to be more engaged with the system to help improve decision making, to more engaged with legislators on policies that come forward, and to work with the counties on how to manage this. Mr. Nee serves a lot in that capacity for us, but it's been a major focus of ours over many years because of the financial consequences of that funding.
This guy too, it's been a major focus.
I'd be happy to. Just generally what some of the activities
are.
For
one thing, there's always discussion about pooling everybody's debt and all that kind of stuff, which won't work because you'll never be able to distribute it fairly according to everybody's past mistakes that they've made and so on. So what is your plan to?
Yeah, thank you for the question, and I'm happy to explain a little bit of it. The legislature has done their level best to make all of this very complicated and confusing, but what we're largely focused on, when the pension systems were reformed, they created new tiers, a tier 3 that was done differently. That's where there's risk pooling going forward. The primary pain point that counties have dealt with are on tier 1.
Right.
That's the legacy debt. That's not pooled from a liability standpoint. It is pooled from an investment standpoint.
Right.
And so each jurisdiction focuses on how to manage that siloed debt, if you will. And so that piece is kind of compartmentalized. When the PSPRS system is looking at assumption changes, we model and look at what that does to the system. And so we'll provide feedback to help inform some of those assumption changes in a way that helps pay down the debt at an more efficient rate than it's already occurring, and treats everybody the way they ought to be treated based on their funding status. So that, in a nutshell, is some of the key kind of takeaways in the we call it legacy debt, the tier 1 debt, which are closed. CORP is very similar. There's a tier 1 for CORP, and the old EORP system, the Elected Officials Retirement Plan, which is closed to new entrants, that's a closed legacy debt situation too. That one's different, Mr. Crosby, because it is a pooled liability. And so we had EORP, the old, which doesn't exist anymore. We have been trying to work with the legislature to come up with a kind of a collaborative plan to pay that down. They've not had the resources or the interest to do that of late, and I don't mean that as a criticism. They've just chosen not to. So we have focused
other than the 5, 10, or 20 million that they each get to, throw wherever they want, though. But we won't bring that up.
You have to get them all together to throw it in this direction. But what we have done on that is when we watch the system, and when we see situations in the system that may be lowering the contribution rate, given that it's so underfunded, we've been advocating for keeping that rate higher to make sure we're getting money in the system because it's cheaper in the long run. So that's the kind of real time. EORP is different because it's not in the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 conversation. It's just a siloed plan over here. So that's what I'm speaking to on that one, where we're trying to keep the rate up because of the volatility in that.
But that's only for elected officials that are currently serving in a salaried elected office.
Yeah, EORP is a closed plan to new entrants. It's judges.
That number is shrinking dramatically.
It's judges, local elected officials, legislators who served before 2013 or something like that. I think is when the cutoff date is.
Is a reform of PSPRS Tier 1?
Yes, sir. The PSPRS Tier 1 was reformed in 2016. The time that stuck. It actually was reformed earlier, but that was challenged in the court system, and that caused some problems. So I think that there are a lot of issues with this, but I want you to know that we are monitoring the decisions that are being made, analyzing them, talking to the managers about what the right efficient decisions are, and then working with the Board of Trustees to implement that.
Did you say increased contributions? And if that's what you said, did you mean of the employees or the employers' contributions?
That's a very good question. That is the employer's contribution, and that's in the EORP situation. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
So for anybody who doesn't get that, you've got a contractual obligation that you hired this employee, deputy or something like that. And you told them, we're going to give you X amount of money when you retire, and you can't change that. So the only can change as far as you can't change his contribution.
People.
We can only increase our contributions for the employer.
Yeah, so this is a major priority for us. And when we meet together in the fall, we'll talk about our policy direction on these types of things, and you'll see us bring forward resolutions. But the counties have put in north of $1 billion to pay down this legacy debt. We take that pretty seriously, and we don't want to revisit the debt growing the way it did previously.
When the lawsuit happened in 2013 through 2016, what was the issues of the lawsuit? Just what I was talking about.
Yeah, very good question. So where the state the system lost is that the reforms quote unquote diminished benefits, where they increased the employee's cost. The employee's cost was fixed. Changed the COLA. That had been addressed a certain way. And so when they did that, there's a contract clause that the court linked to say we can't do that. Yeah. And we ended up having to pay back enormous sums because of that. And remember, when we talk about pensions, and this is important for folks who may be paying attention, no county has ever made a pension policy that has cost the taxpayer resources. We use the pension systems that are crafted by the state, and then we implement them. All of these decisions have been made at the state level and by PSPRS itself, and of course market volatility and things like that.
Except the amount of employees and how much you're going to pay.
No, that's true. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's like the factor.
Yeah.
And as they head towards retirement, it's still the factor. How high did they get on the food chain, and how many of them are there?
That piece is correct. Yes, sir. So I'm glad that you're giving that your interest is this way, because we put an enormous amount of time in it. Most people don't ask a lot of questions about it. We welcome it, and we're happy to do any level of briefing on the pension system you'd like to go through that. Did you have anything else on that? Yeah, well, please welcome it.
You made me feel very welcome to ask questions, so I appreciate it.
It's something we're very interested in. I serve on the advisory committee for PSPRS, and so I spent a lot of time on it now. The orange there just kind of lists how we partner with affiliate groups, and so we support our managers working as an association, our finance directors, planners, and things like that. And the whole focus there, Mr. Chairman and members, is supporting counties talking across county lines, just helping solve problems. Two of our team members are going to meet with the finance officers this afternoon to go through a long agenda that we've prepared. We're meeting with the managers on Friday to do the same thing. I want to spend a little bit of time on our analytics function. You can see it up here. This is good feedback, by the way, that shows that color choice wasn't the best for the screen. So I'm going to make a note of that for the future. But Mr. Chairman, members, our data analytics function undergirds everything that we do, because it's about importing data that we can then apply to decision making, developing visualizations, doing analysis, adding to supporting what we do at the legislature and in the counties. Our database has grown to close to 8 million data points. What is that? We're importing all the publicly available data that we can that is county relevant. Long-term care information, tax information, transportation, county budgets. And then by building time series data over that, we're able to do various analysis with it. We also pursued $1.4 million in grants from the Board of Regents to support university projects that we have been project managing into employee issues in public safety, largely, both the law enforcement side, the corrections side, and then now we're looking into procurement-related issues. So what we're trying to do there is leverage the university capabilities to work with us on issues that can support all of you. So we're really proud of it, and we're excited to keep plugging away on it.
Are there some counties in Arizona that oversee the college?
Oversee the community college?
Yes, now.
Okay. Well, no. Community colleges are separate from the county nexus. And I don't know if that's different in the unique Gila County situation.
No.
Okay.
They have Pinell County oversaw their colleges, like southeastern whatever they call it.
Not to my knowledge.
Is there a separate call out in statute other than Title 48? I mean,
Section 15 call out, community calls.
is it community college Title 15?
Yeah. What this slide does for you is it shows you a little bit in our data analytics function. We try to look at different things, like how county governments work, and some of the products that we've delivered over the last year are what we call our central services matrix, our expenditure limit resource guide, our levy limit resource guide, and these are just detailed research projects that can be useful for decision making. We also look at the impact of state policies on county operations and finance. This is something we enjoy doing. A few years ago, there was a piece of policy that was passed related to human smuggling. We did not oppose it. We thought that's a real issue. It ought to go forward. But we were interested in what it does to county cost drivers. So we did some specific work in this county to assess what it meant. And this rather cumbersome document that I have here, and it's printed this way because this is an online visualization, and I wanted to just bring it to you to look at it directly. But it shows a lot of content related to the Indigent Defense Office and how it's all linked. And when we get our new website together, you'll see you can walk right through that. But that's where we're trying to bring more information to the table, take it to lawmakers, make it available for you. I mentioned about doing some work into the public sector workforce. That's been a fun priority of ours over the last couple of years. We're importing data to better understand movement in public safety work positions to see how folks are moving around, how policy, and try to infer how policy decisions are affecting things. Sitting here next to Mr. Menla from Gila County, and we saw very clearly migration of employees down to Pinal County when there was a salary adjustment there. But it just helps us better understand what's going on, and we can do some analysis for you on that regard as well. Yes, sir.
Have you done exit interviews?
Yeah.
What do you say? I left for the money every time.
Most of the time, we're so close to Pinal County, and they're growing so quickly that we just cannot compete as a rural county. And that's what's driving it along.
So yet you wouldn't deny it. No, you can't, but you have to say it.
That's like indentured servitude. I think there's laws against that.
I always tell employees, you have to look out for yourself, because if you don't, no one else will.
That was good.
And so by benchmarking some of these things, it can inform just public policy decisions that occur regularly at the legislature, but also at the local level. We looked at how counties manage mandated functions. Counties have grown up 15 different ways, which is very interesting to me, right? We're all applying different state mandates, but different decisions are made locally. So we've been building out some information just so that management and others can look across counties. One of the things we looked at this year was in the court-county relationship, because as you know, it's very opaque, and we're just trying to pull more information on the table. These are some visualizations of just issues we look at: interactive county profiles, general fund and transportation revenue dashboards, comprehensive county encyclopedia, and our budget cost driver issues. These are all on our website, and one of the issues we've been having, Mr. Chairman, is now that our database has gotten so large, we're reconfiguring our website so we can platform more of this stuff so it's a little bit more user-friendly for all of you, and we can get a lot of our research product out to you.
A few slides ago, you're talking about using the wrong color.
Yeah.
And I would point out, if you use black, it gobbles up everybody's ink if they want to.
I think that's what we're finding. Yeah, we're always open to continuous improvement. We're making note of this one.
There's actually a feature in PowerPoint that you can put on here that when it prints, it will print with the white background.
Yeah.
If you do it, so you can present with this and print with white. You just got to go into the settings and do it.
And when I was back at the office, I was so proud of it.
He's got stock in Hewlett Packard toner.
That's right.
Toner business.
Fantastic. So moving on along a little bit, I want to talk about the legislature. We do intergovernmental work with the legislature, and the primary focus of the association is to process the hundreds of bills that touch county operations. assess them, and figure out what to do with them based on your guidance. So that's really what we focus on. We also take some bills to the legislature that our group identifies, and we'll be looking at in the fall. This year, there were several hundred bills that touch counties, and we've sent out some reports related to those, and I'll talk about some of that as we get through this. The budget's always something we pay a lot of attention to because the state budget impacts us so profoundly. So I want to break through some of those items. This slide shows you where the state allocated its money. And in this budget cycle, it really avoided making ongoing adjustments to their spending structure. It largely focused on what you talked about, Mr. Chairman, giving everybody some money and saying, where do you want to put it? Mm-hmm. So about $1 billion was spent, so $923 million on one-time items. Not all of those were member asks. Some of them were just one-time things that they needed to put in there. But if you focus on the red box, fiscal year 2027, you can see the ending balance of $52 million. So that means they basically spent down most of their cash. And so if the economy, depending what the economy does, is going to determine what the next budget looks like. These swings can go either way. They do have a $1.45 billion rainy day fund. When you came in the legislature, there was no rainy day fund.
Nope.
Okay, so they do have that now, thankfully, and that will weather some of the storm. But there are issues they're going to have to make decisions on. The federal bill has been passed. They're going to have to decide whether they conform to those tax changes. They're going to have to decide what to do on the Medicaid side if they choose to. They're going to have to decide what to do on funding the state portion of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. So just big policy changes that are going to be I share those because I think those are going to be at the top of the heap for their decision making as we go forward. Yes, sir.
Do you happen to know the total amount of money administered by the governor and the total amount of money administered by the legislature?
So I can get that to you shortly after this meeting. Absolutely. It'll
hurt you.
It'll catch your attention. So I can.
It's been 2 or 3 to 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why we should have referred it to the ballot, and the current legislature should refer it to the ballot. I think there'd be some significant opposition.
Everybody getting that trickle down bribery.
Yeah, well, I think we looked at it once. I can't remember. I remember Kirk Adams brought it up one time about it. We were trying to get Governor Brewer to agree to transfer all fiscal appropriations, and she wouldn't do it, and I know why she didn't do it. There's another guy involved that we all know that advised her not to do that. So there's a lot of special interests that rely on that portion of the funds that come in the state of Arizona, and the governor has a lot of discretion.
Because that guy wanted to latch on to the next governor.
Yeah, and that's probably the case. But the only way to fix it would go to the ballot with it. That's just the only way. And would it pass? There's a lot of people get money from that chunk of that slush fund would scream bloody murder.
But if it all went to the legislature instead, it would still be in the state.
Yeah, it still would be in the state. But, most states and at the federal government, the legislature initiates all spending and appropriations. In Arizona, we are unique because the governor gets all these foreign funds, federal funds from outside the state, and then he controls them. So that's the uniqueness that we have. The grants are controlled by the governor. The revenue generated in the state's controlled by the legislature. So, yeah, we don't get to play with the whole budget.
Okay. I will follow up with an email.
Yeah, it's a good big chunk of money.
I'll share it with all of you. So the following slides are basic allocations, and this is some major categories in the state budget that the legislature focused on. Public safety was a major priority, so they did look at their DPS, law enforcement, stipend for corrections officers, and other things. Capital projects, yes, sir.
Back to that. So I know, and I talked to Dave Gowan, and everybody wants to take care of state troopers and make sure but every time they do that, I got is Bradshaw back there. Our sheriffs here go, and it doesn't seem to resonate with the counties as much because nobody wants a challenge giving state troopers a pay raise. But what happens when they're doing that is they're putting a lot of pressure on us, as you know, with our deputies and our corrections officers here And it creates this disparity, a significant disparity, because we don't have the resources to give 5.5% pay raises every year to our, I wish we could, but we don't. So what ends up happening is it creates this significant pressure on us to try to keep these deputies in the county. But the state just like, we're going to give all the state troopers a 4.5% pay raise. Oh, we're going to, spend it. But they don't consider the impact downstream to us. Now, unless they're willing to create a system to help us do a sort of a COLA match with what they're giving the state troopers. But it's creating a problem.
It does.
A disparity between the state police and the county law enforcement. And I'm sure it's affecting cities too.
But there's a lot too. I mean, didn't the Border Patrol just offer 50,000 bonus to sign up? Just to sign up.
Yeah.
So I know you're not. And then I think there's another. So that's just to sign up plus your salary plus I think another bonus in there. So when I was talking to the sheriff, he says like how, and he's saying we need to give our guys a pay raise to keep them here. But I mean we can't compete with that stuff.
Well, you can't because who prints the money? The feds, right? And that's how the PSPRS problem happened, was futilely trying to keep up with the feds, which you could not possibly do with the pensions. And that's why the PSPRS is in a terrible shape it's in.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, that's something that, I don't think, everybody thinks of the downstream repercussions. They think they're doing a really good thing, which I get it, taking care of state troopers, give them a nice pay raise. But what they're doing is they're putting significant pressure downstream to the counties and the cities to try to keep up with that. And it creates a significant pay disparity. And like Kathleen says, then you got the Border Patrol coming in here and, right now and I just saw ICE, they just put out the new ad. It's $75,000, because they got to double the number of ICE agents.
They're buried in recruits too.
Yeah, and they can't even put them through the academy fast enough because everybody's signing up for that. But that's, we can't deal with that, but we could deal with it at the state level. And I'm not saying to have CSA going up there and say, CSA opposes pay raises for, because I know the political aspect of that, but trying to keep the legislators informed of the downstream piece would be helpful.
You can count on that because I think we share the concern that the sheriffs have with that, and we watch it.
Yeah.
And one of the challenges that I have, and that's why we want to go at these things from a data approach, is you don't just benchmark off one city in Maricopa County and say that's who we're going to link to. You got to look at why they're doing what they do. It's really about recruitment, retention, and quality of experience in your own organization. So I want you to know that is heard, and that's something that we would like to add some value in the conversation. Whether it can be effective, I'm not sure, but we want to at least try to let them know how it impacts us. It's been a long issue. I think the only thing I missed here was the governor did add a child care assistance program. It was one of her priorities and how
She's a
we went
social
forward with it. So she did that last year too and got that in the one-time bucket. These are some issues that we were working on, and I mentioned that they were avoiding ongoing commitments. So that was a real problem because a lot of county issues are ongoing, right? We have to solve this problem. But there's just some things that we were trying to make sure we're getting positioned well. Probably most important for this county, or one of the important things, probation officers. Probation officers work at the county level. They're employees of the courts. They're state employees. The state is to fund state-funded probation officers. They have not been adding resources to the probation pot at the state level. What they've been doing is providing one-time patches over the baseline. So for a couple of years now, they've just put $10 million in on a one-time basis. So as counties are having to deal with increased raises to take care of people locally in the probation function, that fund is starting to get more and more strained. There's a cliff in the next fiscal year if they don't start putting ongoing resources in. You may ask the question why. Well, they've done this for a few years, so it's operated within the $10 million. Probably because of vacancy savings. So turnover is probably, helping meet the balance on folks who are staying, but caseloads are going up. And so we really need, this is one of those basic government things that doesn't fit in the, Mr. Legislator, how do you want to spend your $5 million? And we
Yeah.
really need to get lawmakers to pay attention to, let's take care of the basics of government first, then figure out where you go from there. Juvenile dependency, we did make a change related to that. This is a grant program we got established, and you'll get some of those resources going forward. JP salaries, I always get worried about small cost shifts, and when they gave raises to the Superior Court judges, it trickles down to JPs. Not making a judgment on that, but we pay a significant portion of JP salaries. The legislature was short on their JP reimbursements to us, but they did capitalize it going forward. And that really was Mr. Gowan helping out with that kind of thing. Up in the upper right, there was a provision that increases the employer cost for the correction officer's defined contribution plan.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. They did put in $1 million ongoing to fund that impact for both the state impact and the counties, which is that they were hearing both sides of the issue, and I appreciate that, but we don't know the sustainability of that. Let me kind of walk back a little.
That's going to be a year-to-year appropriation?
Well, they have dialed it in as an ongoing $1 million in their 3-year forecast, so that's good. But as you know, things change really fast there, and ongoing items can pop out. We were involved in 3 bills that were related to changing the pension systems. The judges, PSPRS, and Court all were in the conversation this year. We have a very thoughtful policy position about how we look at these things. So we did oppose the issues that were in the process. And we were concerned about something like this landing in the budget because we really need policy changes to be informed, and we need to know exactly what we're accomplishing and how things are going forward. This is a very modest change, and I respect the people who pursued it. We will look at it going forward.
What was it, Joe? It was like 20,
I don't remember.
2% or something like that?
Yeah.
I was going to become a correction officer.
Yeah.
Get a
So-
22% match on my 401k. That's pretty.
So I think there is a legitimate conversation to have about what this population receives, but I really think it has to be collaborative and informed and then funded. Sustainable. Thank you. And we're always happy to participate in those conversations. Long-term care system, there was a fairly small increase in the long-term care system, but what I've watched over the years is the upward pressure on this system continues to grow and grow and grow. And it's a big portion of everybody's property tax base. We don't know how it's going to change in the future.
Are you talking about because of aging population?
Yeah, I mean, that's the reality of it. We've been trying to get lawmakers' attention on it for a long time, but the provider interests, and they're probably credible, problems, are always coming to make adjustments. We'd like to see a more sustainable, predictable path on the cost share, and we've been talking about that. But I've come down here before, supervisors, and we've had some pretty shocking, changes in this policy. So these are some other county relevant items. I'll just hit a few issues here. They did respond really well to requests that law enforcement were asking at a local level, and there was a lot of money put in the budget for those purposes. Things like adding to the local border support local border support grant program, wildfire investments, reimbursing the counties for the CD7 item or election, and then other issues that we've had in the budget that we just make sure are protected. Things like your lottery revenue share, your EORP relief, and juvenile dependency, things like that. So there are a lot of county touch points in the budget. We always scrub it and try to make sure we're protecting the items that come your way. I wanted to put in this in here just to share, and you kind of anticipated this, Mr. Chairman, when you highlighted how they did the budget. This is how specific allocations mapped across the counties. And so you can see how various counties did receive different dollars for things like reentry programs, direct allocations to the sheriff's office, assistance with the waste tire program, some infrastructure projects. 2 recorders, Yuma and Maricopa County, were able to get members to get direct allocations for them, which candidly were a concern to the Board of Supervisors and how they were constructed. The primary item in Cochise was really just a policy change that was necessary.
So it's really
related to jail.
interesting. If you look at that, everybody was, well, there's a couple that didn't get it, but everybody was getting this School safety
Yeah.
interoperability. Did we get it already?
So I was a little surprised that when I looked at this, that you all were not in that. It's gone on for a few
1,
years,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
and it must mean you're
7,
not getting it.
8,
We have other grants for.
9.
Is it?
I don't know if that's why.
10. 10 out of the 15 counties. Got it.
Yeah, I'll go back and
At least,
figure
well,
out how
at
that.
least as far as your charter is concerned. So that's interesting because you didn't get it. Huh.
Now, one theory that I can explore.
You got CCOM. So people have radios or comms with CCOM, so that whatever else. I'm just coming up with a theory.
Yeah, but it's looking like, the small counties each got around the 280K-ish, 275K, 280K.
Hmm.
All right.
I'll take a look at that. I think it may have had to do with a vendor that was out there and then it got started because this has been a few years.
Yeah.
But I'll get to the bottom of that for you.
I'm just curious. It's also interesting that only 10 out of the 15 counties,
Hmm.
got it though. So Maricopa didn't get it, and
Seems like
Pima didn't get it, but
Yeah.
they're huge counties, right? So the two big counties didn't get it. So if you take them out of the mix, there's only three small counties that didn't get it, and then the rest of the small counties got it. So I don't know. I'm just curious.
Look into it.
Sounds really restrictive. That's what we.
We run bills that are approved by our group. These are the 4 bills that we ran this year. And they're just basic government stuff. The things we look at are operations, resources, and we were pleased to get these through the process. What I wanted to highlight here is a lot of what we do is just responding to the bills that come in. So these are various policy areas where our team had to work in stakeholder groups and on bills. And you just get a sense of the diversity across county operations. There's a lot of complexity. So we're always digging into a whole breadth of public policy areas to try to engage lawmakers on. A lot of conversations about changing the open meeting or the call to the public at the local level. And that's something that we've really tried to protect your ability to manage it how it works for you and your community. And so we've always tried to push back on that. Yes, sir.
We've talked about the open meeting law rules, and how
Yes.
the 3-person board is particularly.
Yes, sir.
Somebody should do something.
Yeah, I gave it to him in the.
He grabbed it.
That was on the list of. Grapes.
This slide is just about, and we only have a few more left for you, is about bills that actually pass. And I think what I'd share is when, given that we're in divided government, and largely Republicans are moving bills because they're in the majority, but obviously the governor has a say in things. And so most members, when we raise concerns, will say, we'd like to figure out, how we can address them. So we worked on a lot of amendments that addressed issues that might have been concerned. And I was kind of pleased with the working relationship that we had with bill sponsors. Item I wanted to flag for you in the lower right, row officers. So you're aware of the Santa Cruz situation where the treasurer embezzled all those dollars, which was a shocker to everybody. There were a series of bills to improve the Auditor General's eyes into that and auditing capability. And so they have those enhanced powers and direction, and they'll be coming around to do that type of thing in all of the counties. So be aware of that. We supported that. There also was a provision about mandating professional education for treasurers. That item didn't pass. That stopped in the Senate. But the enhanced audit piece did.
She's not.
Just bounce here. So I wanted to try to quantify just some of the throughput in terms of what we worked on. Our LPC processed 68 bills. We triage everything and figure out what we have to take to you. And this is where we're just getting feedback and direction from the supervisors. And then you can see how we engaged in terms of supporting, amending, or defeating. Our team also does a lot of outreach to lawmakers to try to educate on county issues to support you. And we're really pleased with that outreach this year with all the new lawmakers. And you can see the number of staff testimonies that we provided. Almost 40 times we were in front of committee this year. These are reports that we deliver. A big part of what we try to do to support your team is to give them the reports to understand the state legislature, its budget, and how it affects all of you. These are the 4 reports that have been delivered. And this piece is about going forward. And so just particularly for our new supervisors, as we start to develop our work plan for next session, what we're doing is we're asking for ideas now, and then we're going to meet in September and then in October down in Yuma. And that creates kind of a working process to decide what we think is viable, where we want to go. The supervisors all deliberate items in October, and based on a supermajority vote, we choose what to take forward. We'll have a series of resolutions that our staff brings forward, things like PSPRS and stuff like that. We'll have some financial items that we think you need to pay attention to, and then we're asking for county submitted ideas. And so we welcome those, and we're happy to work with you on it. So I know I took a lot of time, but I really appreciate the opportunity to walk through this.
While you're here,
Yes, sir.
I asked Phil Meindecker to come to this. I mean,
Sure.
he's our county assessor. We have a somewhat pressing issue regarding the formula and what we got from the Department of Revenue, and he got guidance basically on how we assess vineyards and orchards. And I don't know, you saw the case. We just got the appellate court just basically addressed it. But we had a meeting earlier about it. But one of the things we want to look at is a potential legislative repair to that. And Phil can, I guess, can address the concern on the statute with the specificity or the lack of specificity, or what the court pointed out was what would be an agricultural improvement versus a crop type thing. But Phil, can you explain to him real quick?
Sure. Glad to have you folks down. Good presentation. Thank you. Basically, we have a situation where we have a court case where we're valuing agricultural property, and the court got hung up on the definition statute versus the valuation statute in agricultural land, and they made the determination that ag land includes permanent crops, orchards and vineyards, which represent a very large capital investment on property, and the trees and the vines are actually not the crop. The nuts and the grapes are the crops, but they've lumped those in, and now what the ruling has done is they've basically said we have to value all of the orchard land and the orchard trees and the vineyards and the vines all as basically irrigated land. So in effect, it exempts the value of all of that capital investment of all those orchard trees and vines. So we're going to have to pursue this through the courts, but we also need to fix this because it's just poorly worded statute. They're using agricultural land and agricultural property synonymously, and the court got hung up on that, and we need to fix that.
So if you build a factory and you put a bunch of machines in to build widgets, right, those are taxable. The widget is produced, but the machines that produce the widget are assessed by the assessors as property. We basically have nut and grape factories here, right? So they invest and they create a biological machine, which is a grapevine or a tree, and then every year that tree gets bigger and bigger and produces more and more and more, and its value as a capital investment goes up. Court kind of says no, it's a repeatable crop. So I mean, I jokingly said every year they should get a chainsaw and cut all their trees down, and then we could start all over again. And then what the court interpreted would be correct, because that is for a replantable crop like cotton or corn or anything else. But we have a lot of orchards now. A lot of nut companies have come into Cochise County, and that's caused another issue with the AMA and stuff. But because they're considering that, the court is interpreting that statute as a crop like corn or cotton that's harvested every year, which is not the case at all. And that the trees aren't the crop, as Phil so aptly points out. The nuts and the grapes are the crop. They are basically not allowing us to assign the actual real value of that capital. And we've got examples, and I've seen it too. We were talking earlier. When I was in the legislature and I dealt with FICO down in Green Valley back in the day, and how valuable the Walden family thought that that land was down there once it was fully planted and they had full-grown trees. If they were to transfer that to another company that wanted to buy them out, the value of 1 acre of fully orchard land was tens of thousands of dollars, probably 40, 50 grand. And, you know, Phil, what do you assess it at when it's fully?
Well, we have documented evidence in the court information here. Orchards typically $30,000 an acre.
Yeah.
Okay. Irrigated cropland, $4,500 an acre. And basically what the court has said is you have to value the $30,000 land as if it was $4,500.
But they can sell it.
Based upon the lease
Yeah.
income.
So if a large conglomerate comes in and wants to buy out some of these small orchards, you know, those guys are going to get 30 to 50 grand an acre for an established orchard because that's basically all the capital investment's been made. And they're just biological machines pumping out nuts, you know, so they're buying the machines that are just no different than buying a fully capitalized factory, production factory. If you're going to go buy a factory, you're paying for all that capital investment when you buy that factory. But we can't assess that value because of this interpretation.
Yeah. And we're going to need CSA support. We'll use ACO support. We'll get other counties on board because it's a pretty simple legislative fix. And the Farm Bureau, you know, I'll work on getting them on board because, you know, everybody understands that agricultural property is valued especially using strictly income, no market consideration, no urban consideration. That's a huge benefit to the ag, but it's got to be applied correctly. And they don't want to jeopardize losing that status by improperly using that process.
So we're going to need help, of course, drafting something and then getting sponsors, but also coordinating with the Farm Bureau and having those stakeholders. It's going to be, this is going to be a big one.
It'll draw attention.
To get through. So.
Mr. Gray is online, like speak.
Oh, Mr. Crazon, did he want to chime in?
I just want to point out to the CSA folks there that there was a bill last year that died in committee. I think it became part of a just strike everything. That was HB 2318. It was brought by Senator Angius and Representatives Gillette and Biasucci. I think I'm probably butchering that. Frank can help. And it would have amended ARS 42-13101, which is the valuation statute for the valuation of agricultural land. So it would have made clear that that statute pertains only to land and not to improvements. And it would have said, and I'll read this, for the purposes of this section, agricultural land does not include permanent crops or any other improvement on the agricultural land that is subject to depreciation. That, I think, would fix it, and that bill or that same language, if it could be brought back, would be a lifesaver for rural counties that have a significant amount of taxable assets in permanent crops and vineyards. That would include Yuma, Mojave, Pinal, Santa Cruz, Pima, and even Maricopa, although they've got a much richer tax base. Yeah, so that was a remedy that was already sort of being pushed at the time that our litigation was going forward, and that, I think, is the same language. I just want to point out that that bill is out there. If you guys could please take a look.
All right, just to make you aware of it.
No, it's helpful.
So,
Yeah.
We're having partner with you and ACO.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get together.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate
Phil,
it.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then, of course, I sent you a list. I don't know if you want to talk about that now. I mean, Kathleen's here. You know, we talked about the real estate declaration issue.
Yes.
We're getting a lot of people coming in from out of state. Cochise County has a unique community. We have these off-grid builders and these opt-out folks, and then we have retirees getting a great deal because they sell their $850,000 house in New Jersey and they can buy twice that here. And then they don't realize by buying a house in a very picturesque part of the county at the end of a long dirt road that goes way out into this beautiful home in the foothills of the Chiricahua Mountains. And then they call me and they go, "Why isn't my road paved up to my driveway?" I bought this house and I pay taxes. I want my road paved all the way to my driveway. And we're like, well, the reason you got such a great deal on that house is because of where it's at. It's out there, and county's got only so many resources. And a lot of these folks don't realize they come in from Wisconsin and Jersey and everything. They're used to turning the tap on. They get water, and then they call us because their wells went dry. We need money to re-drill our well. We're like, yeah, you should check that.
It's even like, okay, you bought in a rural area and you're next to agriculturally zoned. Oh, I don't want to smell manure, and I don't want to have flies. And so they're going to stop. They want to stop cattle, from having feedlots and on it. Well, I come once a year, and I came to look at the sand cranes, and I don't want any kind of development.
So we need some kind of, it's just a unique problem that's occurring now with the influx of something. We just need something like an airport declaration, like you live within 5 miles of an airport, just something that you could stick on there on that disclosure form. Oh, by the way, you're buying rural property. You may not have access to utilities that you would have to incur the cost of. You will have limited transportation. The roads will may or may not be maintained. Most likely not. It could impact fire, ambulance, and police response to your property. You could have issues getting insurance. That's another big thing that's going on where I live. Everybody's crying because they're not able to get insurance because they buy a house, they can't get insurance. So, but these people don't know that. They take it. The real estate agent walks them through on the rifle. Look at this beautiful kitchen, and oh, look at this view, and the view. Look at the swimming pool, and this. Buy my house for $500,000. They come in here and they buy a house. They get in the front yard and they go down this bumpy road to Costco. An hour and a half away, and then they get mad and they're like, why isn't my road maintained? Why don't I have utilities up to me? I got to pay $23,000 for Sulphur Springs to put telephone poles to my house. How come I got to pay for that? Why don't you guys pay for it?
And the issue, flood districts, right? Yeah. Almost all of county is in the flood district. And so, we got flooded, monsoon, you got to do something about it. And we're like, yeah, but you just bought a place in the flood district.
Just little things like that. And we'll talk about it more at our thing.
No, we're happy to.
Yeah, it's just something that says, hey, you're buying a house in a rural. There's things that you deal with when you buy rural property, right? You're not in
Chicago,
a major metropolitan city. You pay and you get a benefit, or you don't get benefit, right? So there's a plus and a minus for getting that beautiful picturesque house, right? The plus is you get the beautiful view. The minus is you don't get the level of service you got when you lived in downtown, and that's not being conveyed. The other issue is people aren't aware of the zoning, so they get told, and they go on these websites and they get a lot of misinformation, and they think, oh, let's do this and we get to do anything you want when we move out here. And then they come in here and yell at us because we have ordinances for zoning, and there's certain things you can and can't do on certain properties to protect the value of the neighboring properties, right? Because you don't want to devalue somebody who knew what they were getting into. So it's just that some disclosure on there is really, what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Just so it makes them aware.
Got it. I definitely understand the concern, and there was a constituent challenges like that were the topic in Graham County yesterday too, with lot splitting that's been proliferating there. So definitely understand. We can look into what's possible there.
And then we brought up the open meeting law issue.
I have a fine example of how difficult it is to do the job when you are confined to, supposedly you can't talk to anyone, you can't talk to your peers, and a lot of this stuff that you want to talk about, it has nothing to do with voting on policy. It has how you're going to react to certain things, charges brought up to you, or concerns that there is. So if I find out that a whole bunch of guys in Hermosillo want to build a railroad, up 191, I have to go through all these different levels because I can't just send him, hey, here's information of people who want to bring a railroad. So your ability to react quickly to help economic development, whatever, it gets stuck. And then, where I feel like I'm always like 3 weeks behind because I don't have the ability to say, hey, this is coming up.
No offense against our row officers. They do fine, but they can go out because they're an independent officer. They can make a decision. They can implement it, right? And they can move rather quickly. We have to have work sessions, and then we have to schedule a regular board meeting. And it creates where we could probably, resolve a lot of these minor issues by just talking. There's no official action. It's just information awareness. Then we can quickly get it on the agenda and vote it out.
What can be an email? What you can send on an email?
Yeah.
It's like it gets cumbersome, and it really impairs three people being able to.
It just goes back to the original legislative, like we said, the original legislative intent was no sneaky business behind closed doors, right? The smoke-filled room type deals. As long as we don't have official discussions or official actions, I mean, how about if we just want to meet politically, right? Say the three of us want to meet to talk campaign strategy for the 2028 election.
Right.
It's open meeting law violation. And every Democrat in Cochise County can come to our political strategy meeting and meet with us when we talk political strategy, and we have to let them in. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's a First Amendment violation as far as I'm concerned. So there's fixes that need to be done. And I'm not 100% sure what those are and how to legalese them, but it's a challenge with 3-member boards. You got 3, right? 3-member boards. So it's a real.
And those smoke-filled rooms are still occurring all the time. I mean, it's not like they went away anywhere. It happened in federal.
Yeah, we're just not in them.
Legislature.
We're just not in them. The legislature has them all the time. We're not invited to them.
They conveniently don't have to have open meetings.
Right. Well, that
works pretty well.
Yeah. We are a political subdivision of the
That's
state
right.
and the state legislature. But what was the other ones I had? Do you remember?
You had an issue related to expenditure limits.
Oh, expenditure limits. Yeah. So what we're doing is, a lot of counties offload to special districts to escape the spending cap threshold. And I'm not a big fan of special districts. So even though we're going to be doing this jail district, we're going to be dissolving this jail district once the bond is paid for. So we will not have a jail district anymore. So we want to put the maintenance and operation under our general fund, but we're concerned that it's going to hit our spending cap. And we're going to be penalized for that because we decided not to offload it and create another tax burden and another entity for our taxpayers. So there should be some kind of offset for our expenditure limit because we decided not to offload it to a special district. I mean, that's kind of something that, what that spending cap is doing is it is encouraging us and the cities as well to offload to special districts to get out of that issue with the spending cap. And it's deceitful to the taxpayers. I mean, they were like, oh yeah, we're staying under our spending cap. Oh, but we started like 16 fire districts and water districts and light districts and, all these other entities, road districts and regional transportation authorities and TIP districts and Rio Nuevos and,
Property owner, they only pay one bill to the county.
right.
And they say, well, it's the county doing that.
Yeah.
But now we've got a pie chart, which our wonderful treasurer created.
To show everybody who's getting their money. But what was another one?
Was the attorney issue?
2 minutes before I would say you need to go to.
We'll meet
I got
them.
it.
So
Yeah.
I couldn't share them with these guys because they're the open meeting law.
So like that's so those are just a couple. I mean, I have a whole list of things that I would love
Talk
to
about
cover.
it. What do you say, October? October, we're talking, I sent Laura that stuff.
Yeah.
That open meeting laws.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you all about what I do.
But anyways,
In open session.
I think that's it. We're just going to go get something to eat now. Do we got anything else? Sure.
Not for this.
Not for this.
Have a 2 o'clock meeting.
Did you guys have anything you want to add? Wrap up?
Just thank you very
Yeah.
much for the opportunity. Call on us whenever we can be helpful, and we look forward to working with you in the fall. Looking forward to October.
All right. With that, we're going to be doing a work session this afternoon at 2, which is in an hour, a little over an hour, in the hearing room, presentation discussion on legal compliance of voting machines, which is going to be a very sporty topic. So we'll see everybody.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. And I'll get you that email.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hey, we got to get a photo.